Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Hope you guys are all enjoying your week so far. Obviously we saw Newcastle get a fantastic win against Chelsea at the weekend to round off the first half of the season. Newcastle finishing in third for the first half of the season. It's not too bad, is it? And we start to turn our attention to the World Cup now. Obviously, it's great news that players like Wilson, Trippier, Pope heading away with England, Bruno with Brazil, Shaw with Switzerland. Cannot wait to see these guys in action. Cannot wait to see how England do. Actually, did go out and get myself a Trippier number 12 top. I'm not really there with the World Cup yet. I feel like I'm sat here in my Newcastle top. I kind of don't want the rush of Newcastle to end right now, but we are going to have the break. I'm still hopeful that because we don't have that many Newcastle players going away, that it could actually be a good thing for us, and that we will have a nice relaxing month and a half and come back and take off where we left off. But we aren't here to talk about on the field. We're here to talk about off the field. We saw not too long ago Newcastle bring in a new commercial director. As I've said, Newcastle, for me, there's more jobs to come. In my opinion, in the previous ownership, things like data analysts, things like backroom staff that potentially weren't looked upon as essential under the new ownership. So people like Darren Eales coming in, people like Dan Ashworth coming in to really try and take us to the next level in that development sector, in that bringing players in to improve not just now but in the future. And people like Peter Silverstone, the new commercial director, the man who spent a long time at Arsenal before actually going to the One Football app, in my opinion, for just about long enough to rule out his anti-competitor clause, because as I say, just so happens to leave Arsenal after 7 or 8 years, goes somewhere else for 6 months, and then suddenly he's at Newcastle. So I've got a feeling we had our eyes on him for quite a long time, but it has not taken him very long to start making a few moves. We saw last week Newcastle announce, was it last week? The start of this week. In the last few days, Newcastle announced the official energy drink partner of Newcastle United, Monster. Monster, the canned energy drink. There you go. Big up Newcastle. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest drinker of energy drinks. Don't mind a nice can of Coke or a Fanta, but I don't tend to go to the energy drink aisle. And it's not something that I really thought Newcastle would ever have. It's not the first time we've been sponsored by a Monster, though. Sugar Puffs, Monster. Big up Andrew for putting that on his Twitter, because I thought that was funny. But anyway, yes, we have an official energy drink sponsor, Monster. I'd love to see if an advert comes out, or even just the Newcastle players around the side of the pitch drinking cans of Monster energy drink. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But we talk about who's going to be the next big sponsorship deal. If you add all of the little ones up, it makes a difference. And I say little as if it's not very much. You talk about the Noon shirt sponsor on the side. That's meant to be worth around $7.5 million a season. It, as I say, little in terms of multi-100 million pound deals, but it adds up. And when you're bringing in things like Dr. Cynic, the aesthetics company, you're bringing in things like Monster energy drinks. I mean, it's a huge brand. It's a really big brand. And they are now our official sponsor. It's good. It's great news. And as I say, Peter Silverstone is taking no time at all to get these balls rolling. And something that caught a few people's eye over the last few days as well was Saudi Airline representatives around St James's Park, actually photoed on the steps of St James's Park, next to Bobby Robson, next to Alan Shearer, underneath the Newcastle United sign. And the big question was, what could we potentially see come from that? Because the big question everyone is asking right now really is, who was going to be the next shirt sponsor? We know that Fun 88 ends at the end of this season. Who's going to be next? And for a lot of people, Saudi Airlines was that big link. We actually saw them, I think they were on the Tyne Bridge. They had a full walk around the whole of Newcastle. And I think there's could be more to come with this. We also saw photos of the actual the boards around St James's Park actually advertising Fly Saudi. But at the time, nothing had been announced. And the question was, how big could this sponsorship be? Could it be a small step? Could it be a big step? Well, it has now been announced as of moments ago that Saudi Airlines are now partnering with Newcastle United as they will be flying us to our warm weather camp this winter. So as I say, some Newcastle players have been lucky enough to go off to the World Cup. Some Newcastle players have actually gone on a 2-week break as of now. We've seen Joe Willock in New Zealand. Karius is over in Miami at the moment, I think. But they will have to be returning soon enough because we will be going to Saudi Arabia on another warm weather training trip and playing a friendly out there. And the reason I'm looking over here is because I'm reading the announcement right now. A photo of Darren Eales, Peter Silverstone, and the guys from Saudi Airline all pictured together holding the shirt up with actually the figure 2023 on. So I think it's a 1-year sponsorship. I'll read through a little bit of it here. So the announcement reads as Newcastle United has partnered with Saudi Arabia's national carrier, Saudia, as the club prepares for a warm weather training camp in Riyadh this December. Saudia will be the club's official tour airline partner when the team travels to Saudi Arabia, where they will play Saudi Pro League champions Al Hilal Football Club, part of the 2022 season, saying that the partnership will last the remainder of this current 22-23 season, and kind of the vibe they're kind of going for here is wanting to expand the fan base, basically reaching the link between Saudi Arabia and Newcastle, wanting to have the biggest fan base in England. That's pretty much what the reasoning behind the sponsorship is as written here. I'm sure, well, as I say, in my opinion, I'm sure a big part of that relationship will also be the sponsorship money, but they haven't announced how much that is for. What they're really saying is wanting to grow the club, grow the fan base, grow the viewership. In doing so, we'll be partnering with companies further afield, not just locally. And you go back to the Monster as well. What if Monster put a picture of Callum Wilson or Trippier on the side of their can, or Bruno on the side of their can, depending on where they're selling it around the world? You know, I hadn't even gone into that. I'm just talking about Monster as us kind of sponsoring them and saying, here's what we have, so they pay us. It could be a flip. Monster probably sells globally, or a lot of places in the world. Put a Bruno on the side of the Brazil, put a Shaw on the side of the Switzerland, put a Trippier on the side of the England, and that's grown our fan base from the side of a can. Where's he gone? Peter Silverstone says that whilst Newcastle United is an exciting and ambitious journey to grow our global reach and fan base, we are very focused on growing our fan base and following in Saudi Arabia and the rest of the growing in the rest of the Middle East. So it's very, very exciting. Is it the shirt sponsor? No. Is that what I thought might have been happening with some of the boards and photos out St James's Park? Not necessarily. And to say that they are just going to be our tour sponsor for the rest of this season, I don't imagine we're going to take too many other trips to Saudi Arabia other than this December. It's creating a relationship. It's the beginning of something. We've already seen them advertised around the sides of St James's Park. Could that now increase to more boards in St James's Park? Could that then increase to conversations over stadium sponsorship names? Could that then increase to shirt sponsors? Very possibly. If I had to take a guess on what the sponsorship would be, I would not have imagined it to be a single flight to and from Saudi Arabia. And maybe there is more to come with this. Maybe they haven't divulged the full story. Maybe we could potentially go back out there probably will next year at some point. It just depends on how strange this season's going to be. But the point is, we're going out there and we're making deals and we're bringing money in. That's the big one. And that we are having conversations with these kind of people that will escalate. I will be very, very surprised if our conversations with people like Saudi Airlines end at the end of this 6-month deal, 7-month deal to go, okay, thank you for sponsoring our flights to and from. We'll never speak to you again. No way. This is just, I think, a first step in a door of what could well be more to come. And we will have to wait and see. But the big thing is, people like Peter Silverstone, people like Darren Eales in the photo right there, they are going out there and they are making things happen. And it is just, I'm going to quite say conveyor belt, but I think there's just going to be so much more to come. And to literally, as I say, football's not even on right now. It's not even Newcastle right now, and there's literally stuff going on all the time. So let me know your thoughts on the sponsorship with Saudi Airlines. Let me know your sponsorship on the Monster drinks as well. As I say, I think there's more to come with this. I will be very surprised if that is it. What do you think could potentially be on the horizon next? Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you for watching, as always. Drop a like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you later.